So there's a video going around. There's a video making its rounds all over social media that I feel like we should react to. Now, I've seen this video already in its entirety because I've already filmed a video about it that's currently on its way to Nerd Wars, so he can go edit it. But I figure I would talk about it on stream as well because it is an important conversation. It's an important discussion. I want to make it very clear with this particular discussion about this gentleman. I have no ill will against this guy because I have no idea who the fuck he is, believe it or not. I really don't know. But with that being said, what he said is not necessarily a bad thing. But I just can't agree with some of the stuff that was said. So let's get into it. This guy, Colin Moriarty, he says, no, Sweet Baby Inc. didn't extort Game Science for $7 million to work on Black Myth Wukong. How do I know? Because even $200 million games don't spend that on consultants. It's an absurd claim. I knew the story was fake the second I saw it. Stop believing everything you read. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough statement, right? Let's watch the video to get his take, and then we're going to break it down. So volume's at its maximum. Let's go.
I wanted to talk about this specifically for one reason, and it's this $7 million consultancy fee thing. There is no way that that's true. I don't need to know any more about the story.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there really quick, and then we're going to get into the rest. So I'm going to break it down bit by bit. He knows it's not true. Okay, perfect. On a video like this that you chose to clip and put on Twitter, can you provide us with evidence that you have showing how much Sweet Baby Inc. was paid for prior consultancy? Do you have that information? Does anybody have that information? I really would like to know that. It would be pertinent, right? Because if you're going to make this argument about, oh, there's no way, there's just no way, then I just need you to provide some level of proof regarding that. Because if you watched any of our videos when we reported on this, we actually said, and I was one of the people that said also, I said I couldn't believe that they charged $7 million for consultancy. That literally blew my mind. All right. But just because I cannot believe they didn't charge $7 million doesn't mean that I then cannot believe that they are capable of extorting companies when they themselves admitted to using those tactics against corporations that they are trying to get to hire them for a consultancy. If I remember the words correctly, Kim Belair, the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc., specifically said, word for word, to terrify the marketing departments that don't want to give you diversity consultants. If they say no, then terrify them. Go sit with them and inform them what would happen if they choose not to give you your way. So again, that in and of itself is a extortion type language, but that's neither here nor there. Let's continue.
There is simply no way that a consultancy company like Sweet Baby Inc. went to Game Science in China and said, we want $7 million for a DEI consultancy.
So why is that so hard to believe, right? I can understand not believing the number, but it's not even about the number. It's about the fact of whether or not an extortion attempt took place in the first place. He even later on admits in his video that they have, that IGN and other journalists have absolutely mistranslated and collaborated against this specific developer. And then it makes you wonder, why is that? Why did they do that, right? And one thing that I cannot agree with that he says right off the bat is the part where he says, if he hears something that he doesn't agree with, he immediately dismisses the rest of the story. I can't agree with that. That's a stupid thing to do. Just because you might not believe the number that was told to you regarding the extortion doesn't mean that it didn't take place. Why don't you listen to the rest of what has to be said? You know what I mean? Like, you can't just completely throw away a story because you think that one number in particular is too high. That just doesn't make any sense. And also, let's make this very clear. Both sides, me and him, we're sharing our opinions, right? He's not talking from fact, and I'm not talking from fact either, because none of us know who, like, how much they actually got paid, right? But for me, it's not about how much they got paid. It's whether or not the extortion is actually taking place. And there is evidence to showcase on my particular side anyway, that this extortion absolutely is taking place, not only with Black Myth Wukong, but with other companies as well that they have worked with. So let's continue.
that is a substantial amount of money for any game, and especially a game that is being self-published by a first-time developer, basically.
Also, it could be a misunderstanding too. I've said this before, that most likely the $7 million, that was probably in the Chinese currency, which I believe is closer to $1 million in USD. If you were to do 7 million in won or whatever, like, I'm almost positive that that's probably what they meant. And that is much more believable than 7 million actual USD dollars. That's just, you know, my personal take on that.
I know they made like one smaller game years ago.
Actually, it would be converted to Canadian because they're a Canadian-based company. It's not even USD. So there's that. That's even less then.
In a country that isn't that expensive to make games in, that could very well be like a quarter of their budget. There's just no way it's true. I don't need to know any more about it than that.
Why not? Why not? Why don't you need to know more about it? That's ridiculous. I cannot agree with that. If you sit here and say, I don't need to know anything about this company because of this claim of how much they charge. Yeah, no, bro, I can't be okay with that. That's not good. For you to be able to completely shut out your mind from anything and everything that's possible, that's not good. You're basically falling. And again, I don't know and I don't care about his politics, but what I will say is you're falling into that leftist mindset. You're falling into that mindset of like, okay, well, I don't like what I just heard. So for me, that automatically puts you, sir, in a box of black and white. Guess what? Now you are an alt-right Nazi because I don't agree with the one thing that you just said. I might agree with all the other 99% of things you said, but that doesn't matter. I don't agree with that one thing you said, so you're a Nazi now. Like, that's not a good mindset to be in. Like, the world is not black and white. You need to be a little bit gray. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like when people shut out arguments because they heard something they didn't like.
This is, and I wanted to bring this up because this is what bothers me. And I hope this is instructive. It's nothing against Mr. Winter or anyone else that believes this stuff. It's just, you got to be accurate and focused if you want to make change or bring attention to a cause and be productive. There's no doubt that it seems like IGN told the audience to cheer for Phil Spencer's thing. That seems to be well reported, right? And so that's true. And there's no doubt that there's the accusation of some sort of mistranslation or something going on with the original piece that IGN did about game science, in which they leveraged some pretty serious accusations against them of sexism, I think, and stuff like that, misogyny.
So he's openly admitting that all the stuff regarding Black Myth Wukong and the way that the games journalists are handling it is definitely sus and has some merit to it. So if that stuff is sus and has merit to it, then why is it so hard to believe that a company that says they want to terrify marketers in order to hire them would be so above extortion? Why is that so hard to believe?